David Sullivan stared at his phone as another text message came through. This time it was from Mrs. Peterson, the 19th helper he'd hired in just 18 months. The message was short and familiar. I quit. Your daughter needs professional help. I won't be back tomorrow. He dropped his phone on his massive oak desk and rubbed his temples. Outside his corner office window, the city buzzed with life, but inside he felt completely alone. His tech company was worth millions. He could buy anything he wanted, but he couldn't solve the one problem that mattered most. His 8-year-old daughter Lily had become impossible to handle since her mother died 2 years ago. The sweet little girl who used to run to him with painted pictures and bedtime stories had turned into someone he barely recognized. Every nanny, babysitter, and housekeeper left within weeks, sometimes within days. The first few helpers quit because Lily wouldn't stop crying. Then came the ones who left because she wouldn't talk at all. After that, it got worse. Lily learned exactly what buttons to push to make grown adults walk out of their house forever. Last month, she told the nanny that David hit her. The week before, she called 911 and reported a break-in while the babysitter was in the bathroom. 3 helpers ago, she somehow managed to order 50 pizzas to the house using the housekeeper's phone. The delivery driver showed up just as David was trying to impress important business partners during a dinner meeting. David's sister, Jennifer, kept telling him to put Lily in therapy, but every therapist said the same thing. Lily was grieving, acting out, and needed stability. But how could he give her stability when no one would stay long enough to even learn her favorite color? The really heartbreaking part was that Lily was still perfect around him. She smiled, hugged him goodnight, and acted like nothing was wrong. But the moment he left for work, chaos erupted. He'd come home to find helpers packing their bags, sometimes crying, always frustrated. She's not a normal child, Mrs. Peterson had told him during their phone call that morning. I've worked with difficult kids for 20 years, but your daughter is something else. She's calculating. She plans these things. Yesterday she put honey in my shoes. When I asked her why, she looked me straight in the eye and said, "Because I wanted to see if you'd still smile at my daddy when your feet were sticky." David couldn't argue with that. Lily was smart, maybe too smart for her own good. She remembered everything, noticed every detail, and somehow figured out exactly how to make each helper miserable in their own personal way. The shy ones got loud surprises. The strict ones got complete defiance. The friendly ones got cold silence. His assistant knocked on the office door. "Mr. Sullivan? The agency is online too. They say it's urgent." David picked up the phone, already knowing what he'd hear. Prestige Home Services had been his go-to agency for months. They specialized in high-end families with difficult situations. If anyone could help him, it should be them. "David, I'm going to be straight with you," said Rebecca, the agency director. "Word is getting around about your daughter. We're running out of people willing to take the job. The last 3 helpers we sent have posted warnings in our private forums. They're calling your house the impossible assignment." "There has to be someone," David said, trying not to sound as desperate as he felt. "I'll pay double, triple if necessary. It's not about money anymore. These women have reputations to protect. Nobody wants to be the 20th person to quit from the same house. It looks bad on their resume." David stared out his window again. Somewhere in this city of millions, there had to be one person who could handle his daughter, someone who wouldn't give up at the first sign of trouble. What about someone new? Someone just starting out? The experienced ones won't take it, and the new ones aren't equipped for this level of difficulty. Your daughter isn't just acting out, David. She's systematically breaking down trained professionals. After hanging up, David sat in his office until dark. He thought about his late wife and how she would have handled this. She always knew exactly what to say to Lily, exactly how to calm her down when she was upset. But she was gone, and he was failing at the one job that mattered more than all his business success combined. His phone buzzed with a text from his current temporary sitter. "Lily refused dinner again. She's in her room. I'll stay until you get home, but I can't come back tomorrow. Sorry." David packed up his briefcase and headed home to his empty mansion. The house was too big, too quiet, and filled with too many memories. Lily's mother had picked out every piece of furniture, every color on the walls. Sometimes David felt like he was living in a museum of his former life. When he got home, the babysitter left quickly with a polite goodbye and a look of relief. David found Lily in her bedroom reading a book as if nothing had happened. "Hey, sweetheart, how was your day?" "Good, Daddy. Miss Jennifer made me grilled cheese, but it tasted funny, so I didn't eat it. David sat on her bed. Lily, we need to talk about the helpers. They keep leaving, and it's not fair to either of us. Lily looked up with innocent eyes. Maybe they don't like working here. This house is really big. Some people don't like big houses. Is that really what you think? Or are you making it hard for them to stay? For just a moment, David saw something flicker in his daughter's expression. A flash of the pain she kept hidden. The anger she didn't know how to express. But then she smiled again. I don't know why they leave, Daddy. I try to be good. David kissed her forehead and tucked her in. As he walked to his own room, he wondered how much longer they could keep going like this. He was running out of options, running out of hope, and most importantly, running out of people willing to help. His daughter was hurting, and he didn't know how to fix it. All the money in the world couldn't bring back her mother or heal the wounds that loss had left behind. And apparently, it couldn't buy him a helper who could see past Lily's defenses to the scared little girl underneath. Tomorrow, he'd start calling agencies in other cities. Maybe someone somewhere would be willing to try, because giving up wasn't an option. Lily was all he had left, and somehow, he had to find a way to help her heal. The house settled into silence as father and daughter slept in their separate rooms, both pretending everything was fine, both knowing it wasn't. 3 days after Mrs. Peterson quit, David's phone rang at 7 in the morning. He was already awake, staring at the ceiling and dreading another day of trying to find someone to watch Lily while he worked. Mr. Sullivan, this is Maria from Caring Hearts Agency. I know this is short notice, but I have someone who might be interested in the position. David sat up in bed. He'd never heard of Caring Hearts Agency. After exhausting all the high-end services, he'd started calling smaller local agencies. Most of them hung up when he explained the situation. She's available today if you'd like to meet her. Her name is Rosa, and she has a very different background from your previous helpers. Different how? Well, she doesn't have formal training in childcare. She's been working night shifts cleaning office buildings for the past 15 years. But she raised 3 kids on her own after her husband left, and she has a way with difficult children. Her youngest son was challenging. David felt his hope deflate. He needed someone with experience, credentials, references, not someone who cleaned offices. I appreciate the call, but I think I need someone more qualified. Mr. Sullivan, can I be honest? Word has gotten around about your situation. The big agencies won't touch this job anymore. Rosa is probably your only option right now, and she's willing to start immediately. David closed his eyes. His temporary sitter had quit yesterday after Lily put plastic wrap over the toilet seat. He had a crucial board meeting this afternoon and no backup plan. Fine, send her over. An hour later, David stood in his marble foyer waiting for Rosa to arrive. Through the tall windows, he could see Lily in the garden, picking flowers. She looked so innocent from a distance, so normal. It was hard to believe this sweet-looking child had defeated 19 trained professionals. A beat-up Honda pulled into his circular driveway, looking completely out of place next to his luxury cars. The woman who got out was nothing like the previous helpers. She was older, maybe 50, with graying hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. Her clothes were clean but worn, and she carried a small canvas bag instead of the professional briefcases he was used to seeing. David opened the door before she could knock. Rosa? Yes, sir. Thank you for seeing me on such short notice. Her voice was calm with a slight accent. She didn't seem nervous or overly eager like the others. If anything, she looked tired, like someone who'd worked too many long shifts and slept too little. Come in. We should talk before you meet my daughter. Rosa followed him into the living room, her eyes taking in the expensive furniture and artwork without any visible reaction. She sat on the edge of the couch, her hands folded in her lap. The agency told you about the situation? They said your little girl has been having a hard time since her mother passed. They said other helpers haven't worked out. David almost laughed. That was putting it mildly. Rosa, I need to be completely honest with you. 19 people have quit this job. My daughter is 8 years old, but she's figured out how to make grown adults run away. She's not violent, but she's creative in her methods. Rosa nodded slowly. What kind of creative? Last week, she convinced the babysitter that I was having a surprise birthday party and that 50 people were coming for dinner. The woman spent the entire day cooking and decorating. When I came home to an empty house full of food, she was so embarrassed she left immediately. And before that, she told the nanny that our neighbor was a spy and had been watching the house with binoculars. The poor woman was so paranoid she quit the same day. Rosa listened without interrupting, her expression unchanged. The week before, she somehow programmed the smart home system to play circus music every time someone entered a room. It took me 3 days to figure out how to turn it off. Your daughter sounds very smart. David was surprised by her response. Most people called Lily manipulative, difficult, or worse. She is smart, too smart sometimes. But Rosa, I need you to understand what you're getting into. This isn't a normal childcare job. I'll pay you well, very well, but I can't promise it won't be the hardest job you've ever had. Rosa was quiet for a moment, looking out the window where Lily was still picking flowers. Can I ask you something, Mr. Sullivan? Of course. When did your wife die? 2 years ago. Car accident. And when did the problems with helpers start? Right away. The first nanny lasted 3 days. Rosa nodded again. My youngest son lost his father when he was 7. Not to death, but to abandonment, which sometimes feels worse to a child. He spent 2 years making sure no one else could leave him by pushing them away first. David felt something shift in his chest. No one had ever explained Lily's behavior that way before. What happened with your son? Eventually, he met someone who wouldn't leave no matter what he did. Someone who understood that his bad behavior came from a good place. He was trying to protect his heart. How long did it take? 6 months before he stopped testing me every day. A year before he really trusted that I wasn't going anywhere. David stared at this woman in his living room. She wasn't polished or professional, but she was the first person who seemed to understand what his daughter was really doing. Rosa, I have to ask, why do you want this job? The agency probably told you about my daughter's reputation. Rosa smiled for the first time since arriving. Mr. Sullivan, I spent 15 years working 3 jobs to keep my family together. I dealt with my ex-husband's drinking, my oldest son getting arrested, and my daughter having a baby at 16. Your little girl is hurting and scared. That's not something I run away from. Through the window, they could see Lily approaching the house with a handful of dandelions. She stopped when she saw a stranger's car in the driveway. She knows someone new is here, David said. Good. Let's see what she does with that information. Lily entered through the back door, her footsteps echoing in the hallway. She appeared in the living room doorway, still holding her flowers, studying Rosa with careful eyes. Lily, this is Rosa. She might be helping take care of you while I'm at work. Hello, Lily, Rosa said simply. No baby talk, no overly bright smile, no promises about how much fun they'd have together. Lily didn't respond. Instead, she walked to the expensive white couch where Rosa was sitting and held out the dandelions, which were dripping with mud and garden dirt. David held his breath. This was often how it started. Lily would do something to test the new helper's reaction, to see if they'd get angry or try to discipline her right away. Rosa looked at the muddy flowers, then at Lily's expectant face. Without hesitation, she took the dandelions. Thank you. These are beautiful. They're weeds, Lily said, testing. So are daisies, technically. But they're still pretty. Lily blinked, clearly not expecting that response. She'd planned for Rosa to either reject the flowers or pretend they were wonderful. But Rosa had done neither. She'd simply accepted them as they were. I'll put them in water, Rosa said, standing up. Where's the kitchen? And just like that, without any fanfare or lengthy introductions, Rosa became part of their day. David watched, amazed, as his daughter followed this stranger to the kitchen, curious despite herself about someone who didn't react the way everyone else did. Maybe, just maybe, he'd finally found someone who could handle whatever Lily threw at her, or maybe Rosa would be number 20 on his list of failures. But something about her calm confidence made him think this time might be different. David left for work that first morning with more hope than he'd felt in months. Rosa had seemed so calm, so unimpressed by Lily's usual tricks. Maybe this time would be different. By 10:30, his phone was buzzing with texts from neighbors. Mrs. Chen next door sent a photo of Lily on the roof of their garden shed. Mr. Williams, across the street, called to ask if everything was okay because he could hear loud music coming from the house, but Rosa didn't call. She didn't text. And when David tried calling her, she answered on the first ring with a simple, "Everything's fine, Mr. Sullivan. See you tonight." When he got home that evening, the house was surprisingly quiet. No crying, no shouting, no emergency vehicles in the driveway. He found Rosa in the kitchen, calmly preparing dinner, and Lily nowhere to be seen. How did it go? He asked, almost afraid to hear the answer. Interesting first day. Rosa said, not looking up from the vegetables she was chopping. Your daughter is very creative. Where is she now? In her room, thinking about her choices. David raised an eyebrow. None of the previous helpers had ever managed to get Lily to stay in her room as punishment. What happened? She tried to lock me in the basement. Then she called your office, pretending to be me, and said I had quit. After that, she told the mailman I was holding her prisoner and needed rescue. David's heart sank. Rosa, I'm so sorry. I understand if you can't come back tomorrow. Rosa finally looked at him, and to his surprise, she was almost smiling. Mr. Sullivan, I raised 3 teenagers. Your daughter's got some good ideas, but she's going to have to try harder than that. Over the next few weeks, Lily launched every trick in her arsenal. She put salt in Rosa's coffee every morning, but Rosa just drank it anyway, saying it reminded her of a hangover cure her grandmother used to make. Lily hid all the cleaning supplies, but Rosa brought her own from home and worked around the missing items without complaint. The real test came when Lily decided to escalate things. She called Rosa's previous employer and told them Rosa had stolen money. When that didn't work, she somehow managed to order a dozen pizzas, charge it to David's credit card, and tell the delivery driver that Rosa had ordered them but refused to pay. But Rosa handled each incident with the same calm response. She apologized to the pizza driver and paid out of her own pocket. She called her former employer and calmly explained the situation. She never yelled, never tattled to David, and never threatened to quit. This confused Lily more than anything. Every other helper had either tried to be her friend or acted like her enemy. Rosa was neither. She was just there, steady, unimpressed, and apparently impossible to drive away. Why won't you get mad at me? Lily finally asked one afternoon after Rosa had cleaned up yet another mess without comment. Because you're not trying to hurt me, Rosa said, continuing to fold laundry. You're trying to see if I'll leave. So I've got nowhere else to go. This job pays better than cleaning offices, and your dad is nicer than most bosses I've had. Lily didn't know what to do with that answer. It wasn't emotional or dramatic. Rosa wasn't declaring how much she cared about Lily or promising never to leave. She was just practical about it. The breakthrough moment came during Lily's most elaborate scheme yet. She had spent 3 days planning it, waiting for the perfect opportunity. When Rosa went upstairs to change the bedsheets, Lily called 911 and reported a gas leak. Fire trucks, police cars, and an ambulance showed up at the house with sirens blaring. David rushed home from work to find his street blocked off and emergency workers evacuating nearby houses. The fire chief was not amused when they found no gas leak, and David was mortified as he explained the situation to a growing crowd of annoyed neighbors. Rosa stood quietly beside him during the whole embarrassing scene, not saying a word. When the emergency crews finally left and the neighbors went back inside, David turned to her. Rosa, I am so sorry. I'll understand if you never want to come back. Where's Lily? Rosa asked in her room. I sent her there before the fire department left. Rosa nodded and walked into the house. David followed, expecting her to pack her things and leave like all the others. Instead, she knocked on Lily's bedroom door. Can I come in? Lily opened the door, her face flushed with excitement and defiance. She'd expected Rosa to be gone by now, or at least furious. That was a big one, Rosa said, sitting on the edge of Lily's bed. Calling 911, getting the whole neighborhood involved. You really wanted to make sure I'd leave today. Lily crossed her arms. So I'm wondering why you're working so hard to get rid of me. The other helpers, maybe they were annoying or mean or too bossy, but I mostly just clean things and make lunch. What's so terrible about that? Lily stared at her, not knowing how to answer. Is it because you think I'll leave anyway, so you want to control when it happens? Something flickered in Lily's eyes. For just a moment, her tough expression cracked. Everyone leaves, she said quietly. Your mom didn't want to leave. But she did. Rosa nodded slowly. Yeah, she did. And that was the worst thing that ever happened to you. Lily's lower lip trembled, but she didn't cry. She'd learned not to cry in front of the helpers. So now you figure if you make everyone else leave first, at least you're the one deciding. At least you have some control. You don't know anything, Lily whispered. I know my husband left me with 3 kids and no money when my youngest was 6. I know my son Carlos spent 2 years trying to make me hate him because he thought if I hated him, it wouldn't hurt so much when I left too. Lily looked up, surprised. No one had ever told her that other kids felt the same way she did. But I didn't leave Carlos, and I'm not leaving you. Not because you called the fire department. Not because you put salt in my coffee and not because you're going to keep testing me for the next few months. How do you know I will? Because you're smart and you're scared and you're 8 years old. Of course you're going to keep testing me, but I've got time. That night, for the first time since Rosa had started working there, Lily didn't plan any tricks for the next day. She lay in bed thinking about what Rosa had said, about other kids who felt scared and angry and alone. When David checked on her before going to bed, he found her staring at the ceiling. "Everything okay, sweetheart?" "Daddy, was Rosa's little boy really sad like me?" David sat on her bed, surprised. Lily never asked about the helpers' lives. She usually pretended they didn't exist outside of their job. "I think a lot of kids get sad when big changes happen, but they get better when they have people who care about them. Does Rosa care about me?" David looked at his daughter's face in the dim light from the hallway. For the first time in 2 years, she looked like a little girl asking a sincere question, instead of a tiny general planning her next attack. "I think she does. Lily, I think she really does." As David kissed her goodnight and turned off the light, he realized something had shifted. The war between his daughter and her caregiver wasn't over, but maybe, just maybe, both sides were ready to consider a truce. The next morning, Lily watched Rosa make breakfast with suspicious eyes. No tricks, no hidden salt, no missing ingredients. Just watching. Rosa moved around the kitchen like she belonged there, humming softly under her breath. "What's that song?" Lily asked, surprising herself by speaking first. "Something my grandmother used to sing while she cooked." "I don't even remember all the words anymore. Was your grandmother nice?" Rosa smiled, flipping pancakes. "She was tough, had to be. She raised 7 kids during the Depression. But yeah, she was nice too. She used to say that love isn't about never getting angry. It's about coming back after you do." Lily thought about that while she ate her pancakes. Rosa hadn't gotten angry yesterday, even after the fire trucks. But maybe that meant something different than she thought. For the next few days, Lily's testing became half-hearted. She'd start to hide Rosa's keys, then put them back. She'd think about calling David's office with a fake emergency, then decide against it. It was like she wanted to cause trouble but couldn't remember why. Rosa noticed the change but didn't comment on it. She just went about her work, cleaning and cooking and treating Lily like a normal kid instead of a problem to be solved. The real breakthrough came on a Thursday afternoon when Rosa's phone rang. Lily was in the living room pretending to read while actually listening to Rosa's conversation in the kitchen. "What do you mean, complications?" Rosa's voice was sharp with worry. "How serious is it?" Lily crept closer to the kitchen doorway. "I can't come right now, Miguel. I'm working and I can't just leave. Can someone else be there with you?" There was a long pause. Okay. Let me figure something out. I'll call you back in 10 minutes. When Rosa hung up, Lily could hear her crying. Not loud, dramatic sobs, but quiet tears that seemed to come from somewhere deep inside. Lily had heard that kind of crying before, late at night from her father's room when he thought she was asleep. Lily stood in the doorway, unsure what to do. For 2 months, her goal had been to make Rosa miserable. Now that Rosa was actually sad, Lily discovered she didn't like it at all. "Rosa, are you okay?" Rosa quickly wiped her eyes and turned around. "I'm fine, sweetie. Just some family stuff. Is someone sick?" Rosa hesitated. In all the time she'd worked here, she'd never shared personal problems with Lily. But something about the genuine concern in the little girl's voice broke down her usual professional barrier. "My son Miguel is in the hospital. He was hurt in an accident at work, and now there are complications with his surgery. He's scared and he wants me there, but I can't just leave you." Lily felt something twist in her stomach. She knew what it was like to want your mom when you were scared and hurt. Except her mom could never come. "How old is Miguel?" 19. But when you're in pain, 19 feels a lot younger. Lily nodded. She understood that too. "Rosa, you should go to him." "I can't, Lily. Your father is counting on me to be here. I can't just abandon my job." "But Miguel needs you more than I do right now." Rosa stared at Lily in surprise. This was the same child who'd spent weeks trying to drive her away, now telling her to leave when she actually needed to. What would your father say? Lily thought about it. He'd say family comes first. That's what he always says, even when work is really important. Rosa sat down at the kitchen table, looking exhausted. "I've never missed work for personal reasons. I can't afford to lose this job." "You won't lose it," Lily said with surprising confidence. I'll tell Daddy that Miguel needs you and that I said you should go. He'll understand. Lily, I appreciate that, but you don't make decisions about my job. But I do make decisions about whether I'm okay or not, and I'm okay. I'm not going to hurt myself or burn down the house or anything. I can take care of myself for one day. Rosa looked at this 8-year-old girl who was being more mature than many adults she knew. What's changed, Lily? A week ago you were calling the fire department to get rid of me. Lily sat down across from Rosa at the table. For the first time since they'd met, she looked directly into Rosa's eyes without any anger or calculation. I thought you were just pretending to care because it was your job, like all the others. But you really do care, don't you? Even when I'm mean to you. Yeah, I do care. Even when you're mean to me. Then Miguel must really love you if you care about us this much and you still want to go to him. Rosa felt tears starting again. This little girl who had been so determined to push everyone away was now pushing her toward the person who needed her most. When David came home that evening, he found Lily and Rosa sitting together at the kitchen table. Rosa's small suitcase packed by the door. What's going on? Rosa's son is in the hospital, Lily explained before Rosa could speak. She needs to go to him, but she's worried about leaving me. I told her it's okay and that you'd understand. David looked between his daughter and Rosa, trying to process this unexpected development. How serious is it? Serious enough that he shouldn't be alone, Rosa said quietly. But I understand if you can't let me leave. I know this job has been difficult enough without me disappearing. Rosa, of course you should go to your son. We'll figure something out here. Actually, Daddy, I was thinking maybe I could come with you to work tomorrow. Like bring your daughter to work day, except on a different day. David was amazed. Lily hadn't wanted to come to his office since she was 6 years old. She usually complained that it was boring and full of strangers. Are you sure? You'll have to sit quietly while I'm in meetings. I can do that. And Rosa can come back when Miguel is better, right? Rosa nodded, overwhelmed by this turn of events. If you'll still have me. Rosa, Lily said seriously, I spent 2 months trying to make you quit and you didn't. You really think I'd let Daddy fire you for taking care of your son? That night, as Rosa packed the rest of her things, Lily knocked on the guest room door. I made something for Miguel, she said, holding out a drawing. It was a picture of a boy in a hospital bed with a woman holding his hand. Above them she'd written, "Get well soon," in careful letters. You don't even know him, Rosa said, touched. But you love him. And he's scared. I know what that feels like. Rosa looked at this little girl who had spent so long hiding her heart behind walls of anger and mischief. Thank you, Lily. This will mean a lot to him. Rosa? When you come back, can you tell me more about Miguel? And maybe about Carlos and your other kids? You really want to know? Yeah. I never asked about the other helpers because I didn't want them to stay. But I want you to stay, so I should probably know about the people you love. As Rosa hugged Lily goodnight, she realized that somewhere in the middle of all the chaos and testing, this angry little girl had become important to her too, not just as a job but as a person worth caring about. And Lily, falling asleep that night, felt something she hadn't experienced in 2 years. She felt safe knowing that Rosa would come back, because Rosa had proved that caring about someone didn't mean leaving them. Sometimes it meant staying, and sometimes it meant going, but it always meant coming back when you could. Rosa was gone for 6 days. 6 days that changed everything. For the first time in 2 years, Lily didn't try to drive away a caregiver. David hired a temporary sitter, Mrs. Garcia, who came with strict instructions to call immediately if there were any problems. But the problems never came. Lily was polite to Mrs. Garcia, ate her meals without complaint, and even helped with small chores around the house. When David asked her about this sudden change in behavior, Lily just shrugged. Mrs. Garcia is nice, but she's not Rosa. I don't need to test her because she's not staying anyway. On the 3rd day, Rosa called to check in. David handed the phone to Lily, who talked for 20 minutes about everything that had happened since Rosa left. She told Rosa about her school project, about the new book she was reading, and about how much she missed their morning conversations. How's Miguel feeling? Lily asked. Better today. The doctors say he's going to be fine, but he needs to rest for a while longer. He loved your drawing, by the way. It's hanging right next to his bed. Really? Really. He says when he gets out of the hospital, He wants to meet the brave little girl who told his mom to come take care of him. After Rosa hung up, Lily was quiet for the rest of the evening. David found her in her room that night staring at a photo of her mother. "You miss Rosa," he said, sitting on her bed. "Yeah. But it's different from missing Mommy." "How so?" "When Mommy died, I knew she was never coming back. With Rosa, I know she's coming back. She promised." David felt his throat tighten. "You trust her. She's never lied to me. Not even when I was being horrible to her. She always told me exactly what she was thinking. Even when what she was thinking wasn't very nice. Especially then. Like when I put honey in her shoes, she didn't pretend it was funny or that it didn't bother her. She just said, 'That was mean and now I have to walk around with sticky feet all day.' I liked that she didn't fake being happy about it." David realized something important. All the previous helpers had tried too hard to make Lily like them. They'd either ignored her bad behavior or overreacted to it. Rosa had simply acknowledged it and moved on, treating Lily like a real person instead of a problem to be solved. On the 6th day, Rosa called to say Miguel was being released from the hospital, and she could come back to work the next morning. Lily spent the entire evening cleaning her room and helping Mrs. Garcia prepare Rosa's favorite cookies. "Why are you doing all this?" David asked, watching his daughter dust furniture that wasn't even dirty. "Because she came back. Nobody ever comes back once they leave." When Rosa arrived the next morning, Lily ran to the door before she could even knock. Rosa looked tired but happy, and she was carrying a small gift bag. "Miguel wanted me to give you this," she said, handing Lily the bag. Inside was a small wooden carving of a bird in flight. Miguel had made it during his recovery, using techniques he'd learned in a woodworking class. He said birds represent freedom, but they always know how to find their way home. He thought you'd understand what that means. Lily held the carving carefully, her eyes wide. No adult had ever given her a gift that felt so meaningful, so personal. "Can I write him a thank you letter?" He'd love that. Over the following weeks, something beautiful happened. Lily began to bloom in ways David had forgotten were possible. She laughed again. Really laughed, not the polite giggles she'd been producing for 2 years. She started telling Rosa about her dreams, her fears, and her memories of her mother. Rosa shared stories too. She told Lily about growing up poor but happy, about the mistakes she'd made as a young mother, and about how proud she was of her children despite all the challenges they'd faced. Lily learned that Rosa's daughter had a baby when she was just 16, and that Rosa's oldest son had struggled with drinking but was now 2 years sober. "Your family sounds complicated," Lily said one afternoon while they folded laundry together. "All families are complicated. The good ones just stick together through the complications." David noticed the change in his daughter immediately. She started participating in school activities again, made friends with a girl in her class, and even asked if she could invite someone over for a play date. When he mentioned this to Rosa, she smiled. She's ready to trust that good things can stay in her life now. Before, she was too scared to get attached to anything. The real test came 3 months later when David had to travel to Japan for 2 weeks on business. In the past, this would have been impossible. No temporary caregiver could handle Lily for that long, and she'd never been comfortable staying with relatives. "I could ask my sister to stay with you," David offered, though he knew Lily had never warmed up to her aunt. "Actually, Daddy, could Rosa stay here instead? Like sleep in the guest room and everything?" David looked at Rosa, who nodded. "If it's okay with you, Mr. Sullivan, I'd be happy to stay with Lily while you're gone." Those 2 weeks were a revelation. David called every day expecting to hear about problems or meltdowns. Instead, he heard about cooking lessons, movie nights, and long conversations about everything from butterflies to black holes. Rosa sent him photos of Lily helping in the garden, reading stories aloud, and even attempting to teach Rosa how to play video games. "She's like a different child," David told his business partner over dinner in Tokyo. "For the first time since my wife died, I feel like I'm seeing the real Lily again." When David returned from his trip, he found his house filled with laughter. Rosa and Lily were in the kitchen, both covered in flour, attempting to make bread from scratch. "Daddy," Lily ran to him, leaving floury handprints on his expensive suit. "Rosa taught me how to make bread, but we're really bad at it. Look." The kitchen was a disaster, covered in flour and scattered ingredients. The bread they'd attempted looked more like a science experiment than food. David would have been horrified 6 months ago. Now he just laughed. "Looks like you two had fun." The best fun, Lily said seriously. Rosa, tell Daddy about the story you made up. As Rosa cleaned up the kitchen and Lily chattered about their adventures, David realized something profound had happened. His daughter had learned to love again, to trust again, to be a child again. That night, after Lily had gone to bed, David sat with Rosa in the living room. I don't know how to thank you, he said. You saved my daughter. Rosa shook her head. I didn't save her, Mr. Sullivan. I just stayed long enough for her to save herself. All those other helpers tried to fix her behavior. You fixed something deeper. I didn't try to fix anything. I just treated her like a person worth knowing, even when she was at her worst. Every child deserves that. David looked around his house, which finally felt like a home again. Rosa, I hope you know that you're not just an employee anymore. You're family. Rosa smiled, thinking about her own children and how they'd grown to love this little girl they'd never met, just from hearing Rosa's stories. Funny thing about family, Mr. Sullivan. Sometimes it grows in the most unexpected ways. Upstairs, Lily fell asleep holding Miguel's wooden bird, secure in the knowledge that some people really do come back when they say they will, and that love doesn't always look the way you expect it to, but it's always worth the risk of believing in it again.